You know, he's really he's shameless in intellectual argument. He's absolutely without character, a moral foundation, or even intellectual substance.
Welcome back to the Getting Lit podcast. Last episode, we spoke to Toby Ellen about his new podcast, The Barrow. And this episode, we're going for something slightly different. We are talking about the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. And one of the reasons I want to talk about this is because I just find it very novelistic. So, and to join me in this endeavor, I'm joined by a returning guest, Alex. Welcome.
Hi. How are you?
So if you're a long-term listener, you may remember Alex from the live recording we did when we went to go and see the Alexander McQueen exhibit here in Melbourne. But what have you been doing since then, Alex? What have you been reading, watching? I'm getting into this like groove of like asking for like guests that are returning like that question. So tell me what you've been reading, watching, doing.
Well, I have been like watching mostly reality TV for the past, probably for the past year.
Yeah.
Housewives has been like, omnipresent for a few months now.
Have you become a normie gay? Is that
I think I
happening?
have. I think it's happening. But like, I'm a very, I've become a very slow reader, and I've been working through Welbeck's Atomized for like 6 months.
And what do you think?
It's great. It's very depressing, but it's it's great, and I love all the passages with the weird oversexed, undersexed brother who I just got to the bit where his like soulmate dies after being fucked too hard at a party. So I'm really enjoying it, but it's one of those things where I like find that I can like only read if I'm sitting by a river or something.
Yeah.
So it's been mostly reality TV
Yeah.
for me.
I mean, I do go through stages when I am mostly watching reality TV. At the moment, me and my partner are watching True Blood, which is great. Like, it's such a great rewatch. But reality TV, like, things like this, this is the only, I will just state up front in the episode, this is the only Housewives that I've actually watched all the way through. It's still ongoing, obviously, but I've watched all of the seasons. I've watched bits and pieces of a couple of the other ones, but I just really responded to this one. But in terms of reality TV in general, I mean, I've covered reality TV on the show before, but I think what appeals to me, or what the kind of reality TV that appeals to me, is stuff that is very, the storylines are very kind of clear and like, exciting. And I guess that's the point with modern reality TV now, is that it is much more like narrative focused, whereas I feel like the golden age, in my estimation, of reality TV was the early stuff when it was like super cruel and like putting people in like random, sometimes dangerous situations, or at least kind of situations that are suspect in some way, that people, various, HR and intimacy coordinators and stuff would intervene now. But like, I used to like that reality TV, like that with just like sex and like fights and shit like that. Whereas now we've sort of progressed to a period, which Housewives is a prime example of almost like having kind of soapy kind of ongoing storylines, which I find really, really appealing in a different way, So that's why I do watch a lot of reality TV now too.
Yeah, well, I think because Real Housewives sort of started as like, I think Andy Cohen's intentions in producing the show was to be like a real life soap opera first and
Mm.
foremost.
Mm.
And I know I haven't watched the OC, which is the first Housewives franchise, but I understand like the first season of that is very extremely mundane. It's just
Mm.
like watching people. There's like no drama. It's just their lives and how they live them.
Mm.
And then it became over time more and more focused on sort of building like the soap opera dynamics that people love.
Yeah, and like having kind of very clear characters, and
Mm.
people who are very different, like uh, coming up against each other and kind of clashing. I think one of the reasons why I love this iteration of it, Salt Lake City, is, yeah, like I said, the OC, it kind of began because the OC is a very wealthy area. So it began with this idea of like glitz and glamour. You sort of, people who live like people in Dallas, that did the TV show and all that sort of, glamorous sort of stuff. Whereas Salt Lake City is a little bit less glamorous, and it basically follows a bunch of women in Salt Lake City, which is the Mormon capital of the world, arguably. But the funny thing to say up front though is like how few of these women are actually Mormons. Like, there's Heather Gay, who is in kind of like an ex-Mormon and is
Yeah.
out, like she's gotten divorced and is sort of finding herself, but she kind of identifies with the Mormon culture because that's what she grew up in, and always talking about that. There's Lisa Barlow, who I kind of love, but
Yeah.
it's like she's the only one who is actually, I think, a proper full-on Mormon, but she's like drinking and like
Yeah, she's like a Sunday Mormon.
yeah. That's right. If there is I thought that was just a Catholic thing, but like apparently Mormons do that too. There's Meredith Marks, who is Jewish, and we'll talk about all these people if you have not seen it before. There's Whitney Rose, who is another ex-Mormon with breast implants, and like she had an affair, so was excommunicated. There's the criminal Jen Shah, who is Muslim or something.
Yeah.
Because her husband is a Nation of Islam guy or something,
Yeah.
like a black guy. There's Mary Cosby, who is, I think, Pentecostal and is the head of.
Well, she's like a cult leader.
Yeah, a cult leader.
She has her own religion.
Yeah. And then there's sort of later women that we'll get into. But in terms of the first 3 seasons, those are the kind of main cast, and they're all like they're quite different. So like, yeah, Heather and Whitney, who are the ex-Mormons, are cousins as well. So there's that dynamic that they mine. I can't remember, but did they find that out while filming, or was that like something they?
Well, I think they knew, and they had like because it was Whitney and Angie Harrington who found out, I think, on the show, and she's a friend of, and she's very she's mostly irrelevant, but they found out while I think doing the show that they were cousins. But I think Heather and Whitney had they knew they were cousins, but they had sort of no close relationship until the show started.
And another thing that's like kind of amazing about this show, and I guess it's sort of in all of the iterations of the Housewife franchise, is that kind of soapy idea of like being a housewife, but also being like a high-powered businesswoman that they really lean into. Like Lisa Barlow, she owns with her husband, I think, a tequila brand, which she's always like plastering into the show, which is hilarious. Like, I'll have a Vita cocktail, and then there's and so, like, yeah, she's got her business. Meredith Marks is like some high-end jeweler designer. And I forget what Whitney does, like body products.
Well, she has like ventures.
Yeah, she does. And Jen Shah has like a criminal enterprise. What was it? Multi-level marketing or some shit like that, wasn't it?
It was,
But that's a whole
So
thing
that,
that we're going to get
yeah.
into it. But like, because it's a very kind of key point in this show, a turning point, you might say,
Yeah. Yeah.
where she gets arrested. Yeah, Mary Cosby's business, I guess, is her church and the tithes that she collects from the cult members. Yeah, so there's that like element of it as well, that like they're these glamorous women who are housewives, but are also like high-powered business women, or at least it tries to suggest that.
They want to be. They definitely want to be.
Yeah, yeah. And the show is kind of like a stepping point to that, I think, as well. And I guess that's a common part of this show, these shows. So the first season is kind of, I like how, and I imagine this is the same for all first seasons of reality shows. I like how kind of, sort of unambitious it is compared to the rest of the show. So there's the Mary stuff with the cult, which it's like a storyline or a sort of thing in the background, but doesn't really kind of they kind of get abandoned that like by the third season. But it is an interesting question because Mary is someone she was the daughter of so her mother, like her grandmother basically promised her to her step grandfather, right? And Mary has also fallen out with her mother, possibly because of that. I'm not sure. But and that's like a whole weird dynamic there. And Mary's funny because she is someone who is hilarious in confessionals, but I kind of don't enjoy in the show itself, like
Well, I think in the first couple seasons, it's sort of like she just has seemingly zero interest in like actually being on the show, which is hilarious to think about. And I think over time she really grew on me, and like in the latest season, she's a great character and she's very active. But I think looking back, it's like it is kind of really chic to have someone on the show who is just really blunt and like upfront and like has really zero interest in like, playing the games that the other women are playing and playing the games that like production are playing. I think especially like compared to a lot of other, Housewives seasons, they had like a lot of them had their turning point around COVID. And I think Salt Lake City is kind of blessed because it never had a COVID season. It just came out at the right time. But production around COVID would always make housewives like play games because they had to give them something to do and because they couldn't go anywhere. And Mary Cosby just like constantly rejects those parameters.
Why are we doing this? Yeah.
And she will be like upfront, like, no, I'm not. I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
I don't want to do this. I'm not doing it.
Like you say, she is really blunt and like just will never walk anything she says back, which I find really admirable. Like, when Heather confronts her about like calling her, she said she looks inbred. And she said, "Do you think I look inbred?" And she's like, "I do."
Yeah.
But I think that's part of the, obviously it's part of her personality, but also she's the head of this church, which is kind of culty. So like she's kind of, she's a perfect, infallible kind of, head of this church. So that's why she comes to it with that attitude, maybe. So that's funny as well. And when they go to the church as well, and she's sort of like ecstatic with the spirit of the Lord as well. I love that. That's where she really comes alive.
Yeah.
Yeah, in terms of the first sort of core cast, like who did you enjoy most other than Mary? I mean, I enjoyed Mary later in the season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's always been in the first season, she's a bit iffy, but like, from then on, it's always been Lisa Barlow for me. I think she's like one of the most complex characters.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like she has a deep sadness behind her behind her eyes at all times. But she's sort of love and light,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and if she's crossing anyone, it's because they deserve it. And
Yeah.
um, yeah, I love everything she does, and she can do no wrong.
Yeah, I love
She's
her too. Like, they try to like turn her into a villain in the later seasons, but it just doesn't work.
Well, I think all the housewives, they're happy to play that game because she is the popular one. So they're happy to like try and take her down a notch. And I feel really bad for her because she's often like left entirely alone in her own island. No one really defends her. And I feel like I've heard rumors that this next season is her last season.
Oh, really?
Because she's just kind of had enough.
Over
But like she's very rarely like actually wrong. She's a couple times she's like her perspective in a drama is like misplaced. But she will. There's a couple cast members who she will have like an instinct against, and pretty much always it's like
She's right to have
she's
that.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I also like that she's very she's probably the richest out of all of them. Well, until Bronwyn, maybe in the late last season, but she's really rich because of her husband. But Lisa is sort of like a self-made woman as well. Like that, obviously she works with her husband, but she kind of bosses her husband around in the business and stuff. So like, I find that really admirable too. Like that she, all of these women in these shows are always like, I'm a girl boss, self-made woman sort of, but she actually is that. And like, she doesn't do too much of that either. Like in terms of like saying she's something she's not kind of thing.
Yeah. And a lot of the other housewives, I think, harbor a lot of resentment towards her for that. And I think Heather Gay especially like harbors this like incredible resentment against Lisa for basically being Mormon and not
and doing what she wants.
And she's very upset because she made the choice. Well, she didn't really. It is kind of unclear like how she ended up leaving the church, but it seems that like a lot of her family like distanced themselves from her because of her divorce. But like ultimately it's just like she is now out of the church and she's made being a bad Mormon her brand. And she sees Lisa Barlow still in the church, still living her life how she wants, possibly swinging, who knows, drinking alcohol, all of that. And she like really hates that she has what I'm sure she wishes she had.
The thing with Heather, I do have a soft spot for Heather in the sense that like I feel like she's making up for lost time by being like a drunk slut. And I can empathize with that. Like I can get it. Like not that I've like had lost time or anything like that. Like I've always been a drunk slut, but like I get where she's, and I love her little, cause they do on the show, if you've ever seen it before, they do like their little taglines at the start. And I love that like as the shows go on, Heather's gets progressively more like, I'm a party girl. I'll drink anything. I'll fuck everything that moves. Like not literally that, but that's what she's suggesting as well. Like I find that really charming.
She is very charming, and I think she needed Jen Shaw out of there to like fully become her own being. Yeah. And it is funny how she like, well, she can't like escape the Mormon tabernacle hanging over her head. Because she swings like entirely the opposite direction, and she says like in one of her confessionals, like, I always wanted my kids to like, save themselves from marriage and, be good Mormons, but now I want them to like have as much sex as possible.
Yeah, that was so funny. Like it was so funny watching that there's like a scene in like the girls, because she's got a bunch of girls, I think 3 girls.
I think so,
and there's a scene of various different ages, and she's sitting down with them and basically telling them like, not in these words, but basically, go and be a slut, honey. And I just think that's really funny. Like, it's just very like, obviously we're both very pro sex here, but like, if I was a parent, that's not the kind of advice that I would give.
Yeah, you feel like there is a middle ground between saving yourself for marriage and becoming like a completely run through.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But so yeah, there's Heather Gay, and then there's Whitney, who I kind of love Whitney, but she's like, what does she do again? It's the Many Ventures. She had a controversy in that she was kind of, I don't think, she was excommunicated from the church because she had an affair and married that guy.
Yeah.
And that was like a sore point with a lot of friends and family and stuff.
Yeah, she was properly excommunicated.
Yeah.
She's kind of the real bad Mormon, between her and Heather. And I'm still really on the fence about whether or not she's incredibly conniving or very stupid.
Yeah.
I don't yet know if she is one way or the other, because she gets herself into all these dramas that are like entirely
Based on nothing.
and entirely herself. She makes them herself, and you can't tell if she's really trying or she just sort of stumbles into them. But she's always her main thing is she's on her like healing journey. She's finding herself outside of Mormonism. She has like a jewelry brand that had like it's in the latest season you find out it's all from like Alibaba, but every piece of jewelry has like an intention set for it. And that makes them worth $700 or whatever. But she's very spiritual and very she's like, she does a lot of weird sex games with her husband early on, and then
her husband gets fired because of it, doesn't he? Yeah.
And then she sort of I feel like she kind of takes a turn around season 3 or 4 where she maybe regrets being that upfront with it early in the show, because it becomes like what she's defined by, and I think she feels she like starts sort of like moving against her husband in weird ways with like after he loses his job because of their behavior on TV. And I think she starts to feel the consequences of her actions, and she does kind of draw back a bit, but she's not my favorite, Whitney.
Yeah,
to be honest.
I mean, she's beautiful though. She's like
she's gorgeous
on like huge tits, like. And so Whitney's kind of funny, like that. Yeah, that whether she's conniving or stupid that suggests to me that like if she doesn't understand her actions on TV have consequences in the real world, that's a point against stupid. I think. Point for stupid, actually. And last, the kind of core cast is Jen Shah, who is the most emotional one of them.
She's psychotic.
And like, yeah, really, like the casting of this was just genius. Like they were just like, oh, let's do all these other chicks and then let's throw her in. Like, and then Jen as well and Mary is like a combustible combination, because Mary is so blunt and Jen is so highly like emotive, that it becomes like I think it's the first season when she like throws the glass because they're talking about Mary, because Mary says something about like everyone being scared of Jen, and I think she's right that everyone because Jen's this like, I think she's Polynesian or something, but then converts to Islam because of her Nation of Islam football coach, black husband, And there's a very funny scene actually when they're all praying. And Jen Shah, who's normally like, decked out in like the hair extensions and the full like bloody makeup, is in like a little like hijab thing.
She's suddenly very pious and
Yeah.
hoping to get her way out of this criminal action she faces.
So a lot of the drama in the early seasons centers around Jen Shah and her reactions to things. And this is something that I just wanted to earmark as well, is that what I like about this show and this genre of show in general is, and this is why I say in some ways it's very much like a soap, but it's almost like I was talking about, I think on the last episode, about novels being like, there's a lot of plot heavy novels, but a lot of novels are kind of just full of hangouts with the characters and like debriefs and things like that. And I think all the best TV shows like follow that pattern as well. Like that it's just, like that's what Sex and the City was about. Like that's why that was so appealing, because it was like some random thing happens, like some sex thing. Oh, he wanted to do me in the butt or whatever. That scene is usually like a minute or something, and then most of the episode is just the characters, like who are different kind of archetypes and stuff, just exchanging thoughts on what happened and debriefing. And that's the same kind of format for this show. So like Jen will blow up at someone about something in these early seasons, and then it's just a series of like lunches and dinners and stuff, like them kind of working out what's going on. And then that all leads to like another dinner with all of them together that then another thing blows up. Like I just love that. There's something just so appealing about that format.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the other couple seasons of Housewives I've seen, Beverly Hills and New York. New York especially is very... New York definitely feels like they went into it making it being like reality TV Sex and the City. But both of those ones are, I would say, much more just sort of almost pure character studies. And it's like purely, if there are any sort of narratives that emerge, it's kind of a byproduct of any like just following these characters around. But Salt Lake City has it feels much more constructed, and I think we can thank the editors for that. I think this this installment in the franchise has some of the greatest TV editing, I think.
So good.
And they managed to piece, like, everything seems connected from, like, even, like, season to season. There doesn't seem to, like, threads don't hang. If a character acts in a certain way, it is eventually, like, resolved to find out why, like, what's been guiding their motivations. It's kind of, everything has, like, perfect little arcs. And you wonder, like, especially with like Jen Shah, you wonder like how much the producers were able to like suss out behind the scenes in order to build it so well, because it wasn't until like the first season had finished filming. Well, it wasn't until they were filming the second season that there was any inkling that Jen Shah was a hardened criminal. But throughout the first season, there's like real proper setup to be like, how is she making all her money? Like, she has a lot of money. She's spending a lot of money. Is this like her husband's salary? He wouldn't make a lot of money as a football coach. So, like, where is all this coming from? And you have the sense that, like, she is kind of lording over people in a very maniacal way. And then it sort of does resolve itself as it goes on. And you wonder, like, there's been, like, rumors that the show was set up to like as like a sting operation to get Jen.
That'd be funny.
FBI were involved in the production of it.
That's one way to fund it, I guess. But and she always had these huge teams. She had like the multiple assistants that like someone like Lisa didn't even have. I think she had her glam person and that was it. But meanwhile, Jen has like 8 people just helping her do various things, which is like, where is she getting all this money? That was always sort of like a bit of a question, especially because Jen, as well as Meredith, and probably a couple of others, but I don't know if this has been confirmed. But for Jen and Meredith especially, they're like renting.
Yeah.
They're like, they've got all this money apparently, and they're like renting. And like, there's a big running joke about Meredith having like vacation rentals. I think Whitney made that joke, and she's like, every season she's got a different like huge house, like palatial houses that she's just renting on Airbnb or something like that.
Yeah, Meredith doesn't even live in Salt Lake City, so she comes down to film the show.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's like a Real Housewives constant. Is like, who is secretly renting, who is secretly poor. So like, you feel that like they were perhaps setting up like around Jen Shaw, like maybe she's secretly poor, like maybe she's just getting into loads and loads of credit card debt to like sustain this lifestyle that she can't actually afford. But it turns out it was much much darker. But like, I think as a point of comparison for like Salt Lake City, I think it works in the way the Beverly Hills and New York don't work now, is because it is so like small town. The newer they're doing a new franchise in Rhode Island as well now, which I think is like replacing New Jersey basically. But like, I feel like Housewives is moving into smaller and smaller areas where then sort of striver neuroses are a lot stronger, because you can have like a lot of wealth in these areas that isn't, well, like in New York and Beverly Hills, you need a lot of wealth in order to be something. So you can like put on airs in these areas in ways that you can't elsewhere. And in these areas as well, it's all still very like group chat drama, like everyone's in their like mum groups. It's not, I think, especially like the newer seasons of New York when they rebooted it, everyone's like they're not sort of Lake City girl bosses. They're like actual girl bosses with businesses and PR managers and
CEOs
media training.
Yeah.
So it's like that kind of is like a barrier to actual good TV, because these people are kind of too self-aware.
They're elites, basically.
Yeah.
Like, whereas these people are not elites, and that's what, but they want to be, and they're kind of striving towards that. That's a really key appeal of this show for me, and I think for you as well, is that striver like aspect of it. I mean, and some of the, and this is an interesting dynamic with Lisa Barlow too, who like is a striver in some ways, but she's kind of the most arrived of all of the strivers in the show. So it's sort of like, she kind of doesn't need all this. And which I think she's actually literally said a couple of times when a drama has blown up. She's like, I don't need this. Like, get the fuck away from me. Like, throws off the microphone, all this sort of shit. But yeah, Jen is also a big striver, but she does it in a way that is obviously criminal and like actually awful. So, she was, I can't remember what the specific charge was, but, it all happens on the show. Like what is it? Is it Homeland Security or someone?
I think it was, Homeland
FBI.
Security and the, NYPD.
Yeah.
Cause she was based out of New York. But I think it was like fraud and racketeering. Yeah.
And basically she was stiffing old people out of their money, essentially.
Yeah. She was a lead manager, which is the people who track down people who are easily scammed, essentially. So she'll basically cold call people, and if she can like convince them to buy some bogus like insurance or website management or whatever, she'll like take their contact information and then sell that to other scam artists to be targeted further. So she was like properly evil.
Yeah, yeah.
She's like the most heinous housewife, I think.
And very much so as well. And you could see this in like the way that and the way that this interacts with the whole Black Lives Matter thing is very interesting too, because it sort of starts in 2020 and then goes sort of throughout like the height of that, I think, or at least the aftershocks of that. And the funny thing about that is like how much Jen uses that. As opposed to Mary, because Mary's almost like, because Mary is black, but she's just sort of like, I think Mary's mentioned race like twice in the show, whereas Jen is always using it to like deflect from her own behavior, like especially when she gets charged and she's like, and their house gets raided and she's like, I had my black sons at gunpoint and blah, 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 all this sort of shit. It's like, well, you shouldn't have broken the law, bitch.
Yeah, it's all everything is the result of her own actions. But I think, even up to the point of like her pleading guilty, she never takes like any responsibility, not just for that, but like for anything, anything she does on the show. She has no sense of personal responsibility at all. But I think it always feels very spurious when she brings it up because it's like, well, you're not black. You have a black family, but you are Samoan or Polynesian. So it does feel very contrived. And this is also the first, like, race has come up on all the other franchises I've seen. This is the first one where I think you see the housewives like push back against it. They kind of do say like, they can't, go out there and say it's like everything you're saying is bullshit, but they do push back on like that sort of victimization. But like speaking of Mary, she does bring it up once in the reunion where she just like turns to Whitney and says like, I think you're racist. And Whitney's like, why? And she's like, I don't know. You just seem racist.
Yeah. She's just taking a leaf out of Jen's book. She's like, I'll use this. Why not? But even when Mary does it, it always seems just so like, and it's kind of ridiculous for Mary to do it if you see Mary's house, because she lives in this, she probably lives in the biggest house of all of them. And it's like she has a room, like a huge room that basically acts as her cupboard. And she's got like her closet, sorry. And she's got like, everything, Dolce & Gabbana, YSL, like all designer shit that like half of it she doesn't even wear. Like it's just all like, just this room that's teeming with designer crap. And so it's like, I think even Mary probably realizes on some level that she can't really go there too much because it's kind of like, well, I'm rich.
Yeah. And I do think she just doesn't like, when Jen brings it up, it feels very like Instagram infographic sort of discourse. But like Mary brings it up as kind of like another one of her like very blunt assumptions. And I feel like it's just like a thing she can say, basically.
Yeah.
It's another thing she can say. But I think that's why I do love Mary for that, because it's like, you see between the housewives, and this is like a broader like way people interact with each other now, especially, people do just like dislike people for whatever reason. That's fine and normal. But everyone wants to try and find a way to like justify their dislike for someone else. And that'll like I think the finale like of the later season brings that all together. But Mary will always just be like, she'll have an instinct against someone and she doesn't like them, and she'll tell them, I don't like you. And she'll just be completely blunt in a way that you never see like anyone be on TV in general. She'll just not feel the need to justify her hatred or dislike or like for anyone. She just exists as she is.
And similar to Lisa, usually her instincts are correct. Like, and Mary's kind of Trumpian actually, in that she just sort of like, makes fun of people when they kind of cross her and stuff, and it's really funny. Um, I so in the second season, they bring in, I think it's the second, they bring in Jenny Nguyen. As long as we're talking about the race, Black Lives Matter stuff, I should mention this. She only lasts one season though, because I think as that season was wrapping up, when they were airing it, some like posts that she put out during the riots were like discovered, and people were like, oh, she's a racist. But you look at the post and it's just like, stop being violent. Like it's just there's nothing racial at all about it. It's just like, hey, don't riot and burn down cities. That's like, it's really
just
scary.
very standard discourse now. But I think she was fired ultimately because she was boring.
Yeah,
because
she was boring.
on that season, like Mary says a bunch of like actually, well, racially charged stuff against her.
Yeah.
And she remains on the show. If Jenny were interesting, I think she could have weathered it. But
she wasn't interesting. Her family, like they were trying to force this storyline of her husband wanting another child, and she's had heaps of miscarriages, and she's too old and doesn't want to do it. But it was like, no one cares.
Yeah, it was very classic sort of drop-in housewife, trying to make her being very, very extremely conscious about the storylines she's making. And every time they were on screen, they felt like they were acting. Her kids were creepy. I didn't like her kids.
Oh yeah, her kids were too. I hate when kids on like even in fictional shows, I hate when kids are too articulate and smart.
Yeah.
And these were like, obviously, because she's Asian, she was a tiger mum or something, because these kids were really precocious. And like, it's funny when I think one was playing piano. I was like, yep, leaning into the stereotype there.
But there's one scene where they're like just making breakfast, and all the kids come in and they're like, "Mummy, what are you doing? Can I join you?" And it's like, no, this is too much.
Yeah. So yeah, they do away with what's her name again? Forgotten. Jenny. Yeah, and they bring in I think it's the third season. They bring in. Oh no, it's the fourth when they bring in. So the third season. Is when I think that's the season Jen gets arrested, isn't it?
Second season's when Jen gets arrested.
And then the third season is like the aftermath of that as she's like going through the trial and stuff. Yeah, that's right.
The third season's very awkward because as far as I know, they went like into shooting season 3 immediately after the season 2 reunion because her Jen's trial date was upcoming. So you have Jenny's left, Mary's left. So you have like just 5 housewives. You can see in season 3 they're auditioning a bunch of like friends of while they're filming. And then like Jen Shah's trial gets pushed back. So like there's kind of no story. It's a very awkward season. It's kind of the unraveling of Jen Shah. She spends the entire season like blackout drunk, causing extremely messy havoc.
And kind of properly introduces in that season Angie, who I love, who is one of my other favorites. She's got the Greek affliction of always talking about being Greek, though. So that, but that's just what they're like. So,
but I do like how it's like international. Greek migrants are the same the world over.
But like but she's been in it from even the season 1. I remember seeing her in the background of something. So she's been kind of orbiting the show since season 1. And that goes back to our whole idea about the striver element of this show, that like she's probably almost the epitome of it, because like she's been, being around and trying to being in the right place at the right time. But she gets sort of more properly introduced in the third season. And Jen like treats her like shit. And, she gets humiliated on this show by Jen essentially. And season 3 is also when, Jen beats up Heather. so,
Yeah.
so, which is like a storyline, like it's just incredible when it happens that
It's
she,
so bizarre. It's just because you really feel then that like Heather is entire like under Jen's thumb in a way that's like scary because it's like
mm,
she shows up. They're on vacation in San Diego because they can't leave the country because
mm,
Jen's
mm,
going to trial. And like she just wakes up one morning with a black eye, and she has like this little tete-a-tete with Jen Shaw, and they're kind of talking about it like they're being extremely portentous, and they're being
mm.
like, we can't say what happened.
Yeah.
And she seems to spend the like remaining episodes implying that someone did this to her, but that it's not Jen. But then like,
Yeah, but she would say like in the same breath, she'd be like, I don't remember how this happened, but
yeah.
maybe someone else does.
And but like no one's looking at anyone else but Jen as well,
Mm,
because Jen's the only one that's like been violent on the show in that
mm,
way. Um, and it's it doesn't in that season like culminate in anything, so it's incredibly
mm.
it's very very bizarre. Um, but you feel like, well, when they have their first little conversation about it, Heather and Jen, you see this sort of like look on Jen's face, like kind of like a relief, like Heather's willing to like cover up for me
Yeah.
doing something like that would get most housewives fired from the show.
But
Um,
also jeopardizes her court case as well. Like I
yeah,
think that's the reason that Heather did it, essentially.
I,
Um,
I I feel like at that point Heather would do like anything Jen said,
mm,
and it's not until the end of season 4 that Heather finally reveals that Jen did it to her,
mm,
and even that feels like, is that the truth?
mm, mm,
You never really know, and it's so strange.
mm. It is a very strange moment. Um, and again, one of these, it's the kind of behavior that I just feel like you won't find on the other versions of this show. Like, and it
No,
comes from the small town, like, the New York and Beverly Hills, like more elite. They wouldn't be like punching each other up and shit like
no.
that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but because I haven't seen all of it, but it's that sort of element of it, the rough and tumble of the small town housewives. That yeah. So and also, like you said, Jen has been violent before. Like I think it's in season 3 when she almost like beats up Lisa in the Sprinter van.
Oh, that's like scary.
It was scary. I was like
It's
really. I
scary
was. It takes a lot to shock me, and I was actually really shocked at that. I was like, holy shit.
because
Also, because I love Lisa and like,
yeah, you want to
don't do
protect
that.
her. But Lisa, up until that point, she's been very like, when she would argue with people, she'd be very like sarcastic and like,
Mm,
oh yeah, sure, whatever, come for me.
mm,
But up until that point, where Jen's like in her face, pointing at
mm,
her, she suddenly snaps and like starts screaming back, and like it does feel like it's going to be this full-on brawl, and the producers do have to get involved and like separate them.
mm,
And it's like it's Jen is pushing, and that's like an argument over whether or not like Lisa is defending Jen enough in
yeah.
like in her guilt or innocence surrounding the court case. And it's like it becomes this, yeah, just Jen will, I think, because she's like incredible, Jen's like a major drunk.
Mm,
um she is like, basically, as soon as she gets arrested till she leaves the show, she seems to be completely out of it.
mm,
But she's willing to like go to these points to, because she can't really like argue anything effectively.
mm,
Um, and she's very scary.
mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought that moment was shocking. I also thought I remember you shared this. I think this is why I wanted to talk to you about it, because I think you shared some posts from some screenshots from season 2. This is another way in which the editors are so shady on this show. Like when they kind of showed the like rogues gallery of her family, like the auntie with like the peg legs and like, and like this is so shady.
Well, it's like, yeah, she has like, well, that's the season 1 drama where Mary comes over to Jen's house and says, it smells like hospital. And then Jen's like, well, my aunt just got her legs removed.
Yeah.
So how dare you? But yeah, Jen's family is, well, she also like drained her mother's retirement fund.
To pay for her court costs.
Yeah. And then,
which is like really low. I mean, she's so low that she's trying to scam old people out of their dwindling money, and so that doesn't surprise me, that she would do that to her own mother.
But then her family like defend her until the very end. Yeah, it's a very, very close knit. Their little community.
Yeah. And the thing with Jen too that is incredible, like I just couldn't believe the chutzpah on her to be like maintaining her innocence right up until did she take a plea bargain, or was it?
Yeah, I think it was a plea deal.
And so pled guilty right at the last minute, which shocks everyone because she's like maintaining. I don't know that they're actually shocked, because presumably they have eyes and ears, but like they at least express that they're shocked by this. And but yeah, like doing things like draining your mother's accounts to pay for your court costs, and then at the end just saying, oh yeah, I'm guilty, and then going to prison for like 5 or 6 years or whatever. But the thing is that she knew she was guilty and kept maintaining this, and it was all filmed. This is the behavior that I do not understand, because does she expect that that like she's going to come back to the show or whatever, and like then what will happen? Because she can't actually be on the show, like legally, I don't think, because of the Heather stuff. Like she is known to have assaulted another cast member. So what are they going to do? Is she going to try? I think she's going to try and get back on the show.
I think so too. And I think they'd be willing to.
Yeah. Oh, it would be very dramatic. But like, I don't think she could be in any scenes with Heather. Like just from a HR point of view, like I don't think the HR department's going to allow that. But like, yeah, are they going to film scenes in prison? Yeah.
Well, it just speaks to like the pathology to be like on the show, spending all this money before anything even comes to light, knowing that that money comes from like ill-gotten gains. And then as she is arrested, continuing to defend herself, and then continuing to spend money, continuing to throw parties and give people like these lavish gifts, and just having no sense that this might bite you in the ass at some point. And just, it's sort of, you wonder if she was like, so, because she never took responsibility for anything she did. If she was so wrapped up in her own head that she felt that like everything she did was completely justified, or if she just is so, I don't know. Either way, she's completely like dark-sided, evil-minded.
Yeah.
Like there's no way out of it.
I'm wondering what the angle
coming back.
Yeah, if she does come back though to the show, I'm wondering what the angle is going to be for her. Is she just going to be like, "Oh, I just said I was guilty"? Like, in which case, like, because she had a written statement that she wrote for sentencing or something like that. I don't know legal stuff, and definitely not US legal stuff. But isn't that like, if she denies that that's what she said in that statement, is that some kind of perjury or whatever? Like why would she? I don't know. Like, because the only way I can see her coming back on the show, like, and not humiliating herself, would be to say, "Oh, I just said that to get the better deal" or whatever. but I don't know what the legalities are of like signaling that statement. But like, I can't see her coming onto the show in any other way, like in terms of interacting with the other women. Like,
Yeah.
because otherwise it's just going to be her and her like single scenes.
Little bubble.
Like, yeah. Yeah.
Because I haven't seen New Jersey, but I know that Teresa Giudice goes away for a little bit for similar. It's like tax fraud, so it's not as bad. But I believe like she comes back, and it's sort of like she has like one episode where she expresses her sorry and asks for forgiveness, and then they kind of move on. And I think um, it's very similar for the Countess Luann in New York, who got extremely drunk and beat up a cop. She similarly spent a little time in prison, got out, did an apology episode, and then they kind of moved on. But like for Jen Shah, it's like on another level where
Yeah, this is very different.
yeah,
Like,
it's I feel like they will try because I think she's out in like a couple of years now because she's had her sentence reduced a couple of times.
I think next year actually it will be. Yeah. From what I heard. Just talking to other gays who watch it. Yeah. But yeah, so one of the things that so I just don't see how they're going to narrativize that, but they're so good on this show that I don't doubt that they can come up with a compelling narrative, and like it's going to be however they do it, it's going to be entertaining. That's for sure. I think she'll be on the show in some capacity. But it'll be very different. And I don't know if like all of the women would be comfortable with her being on the show as well. Like, but so we come to the later seasons as well. And that's where I really want to shout out Angie again, because I love her. She kind of comes into the show with a bang with like gay rumors and stuff.
Yes.
Which is so funny. Because it actually has a really true message here about like straight men who are hairdressers. Like everyone always just says they're gay, like when they're not. And he actually doesn't seem that gay to me.
No,
my gaydar's not going off with him.
No, I feel like there's a couple gay husbands on the show, but I don't think he's one of them.
One of them. Yeah.
But yeah, because like you were saying, she's kind of like in the background. Very in the background for a couple of the earlier seasons. And then she comes on as like a proper friend of in season 3 and then as a housewife in season 4. And she played it right in that she was there. She was like on camera, but she wasn't trying so hard. She wasn't
thirsty for it. I mean, she was, but she was just not showing it.
Yeah. Unlike the other Angie Harrington, who is really extremely thirsty for it. She gets her like husband involved in creating like a hate account, anti-Jen Shah, anti-Lisa Barlow hate account. It's like steps into drama, just like unprompted. But Angie, she comes in. She's big in Greek, and her and Meredith are at odds. I can't remember why. It's
because of you want to go there with her husband. It's that thing. Like,
but it's even before that. I can't remember why she's.
Yeah, Angie was coming at her for some reason. I can't remember what it was. But
but Meredith has this vacation to Trixie Motel, and Angie just shows up, even though she's not invited. And then they go out at a dinner party, and Meredith goes.
I think it's the not invited that was Angie's problem. Maybe that's what it was. Yeah,
Meredith goes, all the stuff I could say about the husband, the rumors, and the nastiness. But Meredith does this thing. She's like she's a lawyer, and she acts like a lawyer, and she's extremely slimy like a lawyer. She will not spread gossip. She will spread the idea of gossip.
Yeah. Or
She'll
talk about
say,
people are saying like
people are
this.
saying, I've heard
Yeah.
these things.
Yeah.
And then she'll get someone else to actually say the thing.
Mm.
So she's talking about her husband. Everyone knows this about her
Mm.
husband. And then Monica, who's another new cast member on
Addition.
that season, she comes out and says, the word on the street is that your husband has all these men and they won't shut up about fucking her.
And they're having circle jerks
And
and
they're having
stuff like
circle jerks. And Angie's reaction to that when they finally bring it to her that these are what the rumors are, it's very much like, it's kind of like, how dare you, speak about my family, but also it's not like, how dare you say, it's like, like we've heard this before.
that.
And her husband as well is like immediately upset about it. And it doesn't feel like there's any truth to it because it's kind of like,
Yeah.
it's this thing that's probably been hanging over him his entire life.
Yeah.
And it's just like a shame that it has to like come out on the show in this way.
And it's not a thing, and he's not upset about like the gay thing. He's upset about it being an adultery thing because he loves his wife and is loyal to her. And like they've probably heard it all before, and they would not have problems with gays either because they run a salon. So it's not the gay thing that is the problem, which is funny. But what was I going to say about Angie? Oh yeah, I'm not clear on whether she's Mormon or not because there is like that later faux pas she does when she brings in the wine to someone, I forget whose gathering it was, but it was like a Mormon.
Brittany.
Brittany. Brittany's really funny too. She should be a main cast member. She's so desperate and funny. She brings wine to this Mormon thing, and like that to me was like, oh, she's just being Greek or Mediterranean. Like I would do that too. It's not a you got to drink it now. It's just a gift sort of thing, when someone invites you over. So I could see her point of view in that's all she was doing. She wasn't like saying anything like you were drunk. But
I think
so. I could, and then she's got the Greek Easter thing, which is an Orthodox thing, and she's got an Orthodox priest there. But then there's some suggestion that like Angie has some connection to the Mormon Church. So I'm not sure what was going on.
I think she was raised in Salt Lake City, but I don't think she's like at all Mormon.
Okay.
I think because she was high school friends with Heather. Well, they went to high school together. I don't know if they were friends, but I'm pretty sure she's like outside of the church.
And that's another thing about the small town thing. Just after you said it, like it just reminded me, like these connections that aren't from like they're not like muddied connections. Like, oh, I worked with you in this like fashion label or whatever. It's like I went to high school with her. She's my cousin. I know her from like and. Lisa and Meredith know each other from working on Sundance Film Festival, like all this sort of, those sort of things. Like it's not elite at all.
No. And I think this is where Lisa gets in trouble a lot is because like she's the one that actually has like sort of business networky friends. And I think a lot of them feel like they're, proper friends. And that gets Lisa in trouble a couple of times.
Hi there, listeners. Sorry to interrupt. We really appreciate you listening to us, but if you'd like to hear more from us, you should check out our Patreon. Go to patreon.com/gettinglit and gain access to our exclusive bonus content, including Back Matter, a special after show where we chat a little bit more informally with our guests, usually about a film or something else related to the main episode. For just $5, you get access to these bonus episodes, as well as the full archive of every episode we've ever done. For more details and to get the most out of your Getting Lit podcast experience, go to patreon.com/gettinglit. Thanks for listening. Okay, back to the show. But anyway, where were we? I think we were talking about Angie. I just love Angie. I love how Greek she is.
Yes.
I love how she's kind of quite feisty, but not in a way that's, violent like Jen. And I love how she's uh was it Meredith she was going up against, and she's just like, I'm just a beauty salon like graduate, like, and I know I can't remember what the context was, but like she was making more sense than Meredith
Yeah.
was. Yeah.
No, and Angie. Well, Angie's just she just seems like a total sweetheart.
Mm.
And I think this is why she becomes such good friends with Mary in this last season. It's because she's just very open and welcoming, and she's not judgmental, you feel,
Yeah.
in any way. Um, this is something about like all these housewives, especially. I feel like I could be friends with all of them.
Yeah.
These ones are the ones that feel like real people you could actually have like a actual conversation with.
I'd love to hang out with Lisa Barlow, like,
Oh yeah.
and Angie, like, and also in season 4 as well, when Angie becomes a main character, we also introduced to Monica, who it turns out the drama with this season is Monica is the secret villain that we don't find out until the end. She's running this like hate account on Instagram or something that is like, but the thing is that it was a Jen hate account. So like, I don't get like why. Oh, well, I mean, I do. Obviously, they publish things about the other housewives on Salt Lake City, and they got really angry about that and confront her in the finale, which is like amazing television. It's so good. It's so good because it's like they're in Bermuda, and they're in this like triangle shaped kind of arrangement of tables with Monica on. I think Monica is on one, and then like the other women are on the others, and then they all just sort of confront her and about her being this person, which is Reality Von Teese, I think it was called.
Reality Von Teese.
Which is like, what's that? What is that? Like, are they trying to do Dita Von Teese, but like,
well, her like profile picture was like sort of this, what's the beatnik? No, what's the term for those like the women who dress up like 50s?
burlesque. Like Dita Von Teese is like
Dita
a
Von
burlesque
Teese
person. Yeah,
yeah. It's like it's a weird character,
yeah.
but it's like yeah. That's where I feel like the show really cemented itself as like top tier TV because yeah, season 3 is a little bit off. You wonder how the show's gonna like survive without Jen Shaw and without that scandal. And then Monica comes in. She was an associate of Jen Shaw. She was an assistant, unpaid assistant. She reveals that she like helped rat Jen Shaw out. She like provided a statement or whatever. And she comes in she doesn't come in hot, but she comes in like you feel like she's doing a thing that a lot of fan favorite housewives do, and she was a fan favorite for a time before the finale, as far as I know, where they come in and they start like jabbing at like the other housewives for things like their privileged position and like for being sort of unaware, or being like she immediately butts up against Lisa Barlow, because Lisa loses her ring in the toilet at an airport, and she keeps going around being like, "Has anyone seen my ring? My $60,000 ring?" And she comes up against her for that, and she says like, "You can't talk about, you're always talking about the $60,000 ring. I can't afford anything. I have 800 kids I need to raise by myself. I'm single because, my husband left me and I'm all alone. And, you have to think about like, your position in life. You're part of the 1%, all this stuff." And then like, as the season progresses, you see that like so much of this attitude is like because of well, obviously because of like resentment for what Lisa has and
Mm.
she doesn't. But then you see her also like starting to like play the women against each other.
Mm.
Um, and you see her like start sort of very connivingly go back and forth between um, making friends with housewives and like then turning against them. And then it all culminates in Bermuda, um, where Heather in these last couple seasons has been like, I think trying to like redeem herself in a post-gen show world, and she puts on she gets a call from someone. Oh no, she gets a call. Her hairdresser was also part of Reality Von Tease, and she apparently had a crisis of faith and was like, I have to tell Heather that I've been involved with this account that's been, bullying her and her friends. And then she gets like confirmation that it's Monica's been a part of this account too. And then she like brings all the housewives together before the dinner and says like, does this big reveal. It's
On the
windy.
beach, yeah, on
It's
the
windy.
beach,
They all
it's
have got their
windy.
caftans
Yeah.
on. And then I love when she says that Lisa and Meredith both go like they like scream and they're like, no,
Yeah.
this can't be. And then she sets up this like game where she has they all early in the season they all made little dolls of
Mm.
themselves. And she says, like, if you look in front of you, you'll have the doll of another, one of our friends, and I want you to pick them up and like say I want you to ask the doll like something you wish you knew about them. And a couple of them do that, and then it comes to Heather, and she's like, "Oh, I have, I have Monica's doll," and she's like, "Monica, I was wondering, what are you doing running Reality Von Tease?" And then like it becomes this major. Monica at first denies it, and I think she realizes she can't
Mm.
take that route. Like there is proof that she's behind it. And then she does something I think is quite fairly clever in that she says like it's like, yeah, I've been running this account, but you all have you all have like interacted with me. You've like liked the posts when they were against other housewives. We are all in this like ecosystem of gossip and sniping and snark, and none of you can really escape it. But Monica is ultimately the villain because it's like I feel like anyone with even like a modicum of internet celebrity or any celebrity have these people who like have like secret Instagram accounts or private accounts that like dedicate themselves to taking them down or just sniping at them. Like Real Housewives is very much in like the snark ecosystem. That's like all of those Reddit pages that are
Mm.
dedicated to like niche internet celebrities and will just post anything they do and the comments will be full of hatred. And
Mm.
I feel like that's such a part of the modern celebrity ecosystem now. And if you found out that like one of your supposed friends was someone behind that account, that would be it'd be traumatizing.
Mm.
It'd be
Mm.
so fucked to find out like this person who I brought to Bermuda to meet with her family and celebrate her birthday has been calling me fat for 5 years.
Yeah, I just love that whole scene. Like, and it was very dramatic again because it was windy on the beach when she made that flashback reveal, but then it was also windy at the like, so there's like their hair's going all over the place while they're like jabbing their fingers at her. And like, it's so good. Like, it's almost
It's
like it's just too perfect, as if like they must
yeah.
have got like a Beyonce or like wind machine or something, but they didn't. It was clearly just a windy night and it was just the drama was in the air, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love at the end, all the housewives, they've all been bickering all seasons, but they put the differences aside and they all kind of like huddle together as like Monica walks off. packs her bags and goes home. It's perfect television.
It's so good. Yeah, I love it. I love how the yeah, so Bronwyn just not Bronwyn, Monica just walks off with her tail between her legs sort of thing. And then at the reunion, like is just the reunions we got to talk about as well because I find them very hard to follow as a male, and I think it's a female thing because I had the same problem whenever I've watched a clip from like The View or something, like all of these like hens clucking like over each other, and you just cannot distinguish what person's saying what. It's like it is better when there is an editor to like, okay, this person is talking, this person is talking, you know? Whereas the reunions is just chaos. I cannot understand anything anyone is saying.
It's particularly bad in the Salt Lake City reunions, and you can see that Andy Cohen's like fed up. He's constantly telling them to like shut up, one at a time. But I think also with Salt Lake City, the reunions are like for a lot of the other seasons. If the season is franchises, if the season is kind of like a bit boring, you can kind of count on the reunion to at least pull things together, get a bit more drama out of it. But Salt Lake City, it feels like the reunions are kind of like they're not the least interesting, but they're kind of don't need to. They're not as necessary to the seasons as much as these other franchises, and I think it's because all of these women are kind of much more willing to litigate things during
the show.
The show.
Although so the reunions always just seem like Lisa just justifying herself constantly, being on the back foot. Like it's just from the first season, she's been having to do that. Yeah,
Lisa always ends up on the on the fire. Every reunion, which is sad.
But we'll just talk about season 5, which I think I don't know what you think about it, but I think it is in terms of cast. I think that's the perfect cast, and I really wish that they keep that cast because to replace Monica and Jen, they bring in Bronwyn, who a lot of people online seem to like dislike her, but I quite like her. Like I think she's cool. Her ridiculous outfits, like her ridiculous couture outfits are amazing. And all the drama around her in the show itself just seemed like such bullshit. Like she had this thing with Heather that I just didn't get. Like she seemed very reasonable to me, and Heather was just being a bitch essentially.
Bronwyn's, I think she's gonna, she grew on me throughout the season.
Yeah, same.
And I think she's gonna come into her own in the next season, because I feel like she does a thing a lot of new housewives do where they kind of get involved with too much at once. But I feel like she was smart enough not to like try extremely hard.
Yeah.
So like a lot of her, there's the sense that like she doesn't, she's not like stirring shit as much, even though when she does stir shit, it's, well done.
Entertaining, yeah.
Yeah.
She is probably the most intelligent of all of them, I think. Like, I think there's a real intelligence there behind her that I don't know. I don't know about her background, like, whether she's, not that you need to be educated, but she seems like highly educated and very articulate and can reason and think through her thoughts and stuff. So that's a good element to have in amongst all the yelling and screeching.
Yeah. You get the sense that she's kind of like playing the field, but it's not in a way Monica did, where you don't feel like there's anything sort of malicious behind it. Because she comes into the season as Lisa's friend, and then I think she quite quickly realizes they're kind of more acquaintances than close friends. So she's kind of trying to find allies and people to confide in. So she ends up in a good place where she's kind of sussed out where everyone stands on how she is, and I think in the next season she's going to like progress well with those allies and
Yeah.
enemies.
To me, Bronwyn seems like what Meredith wishes she was, because Meredith is very like put together and like is always trying to appear reasonable and like justified in all of her actions, and like, you know, she reasons through things. But like Meredith, like we said before, is like a gossip hound, and like she just does it in a way where she can, this slimy lawyer way where she can have plausible deniability, even though like I think someone even said it in an earlier season, like mentioning gossip is gossip. You know,
Yeah.
like you know, when like gossip columnists talk about gossip, they are engaging in gossip, you know, like it's not rocket science. But like I think Bronwyn, yeah, you know, Meredith likes to put on airs that she's like above it all, but I
Yeah.
feel like Bronwyn kind of does that in a way where she's not overly like, she does have a few moments of like getting into fights and scraps and stuff, but she kind of seems in the right in most of them, in most of those situations, and is very reasonable about how she goes about saying why her position. But she has this, yeah, there's a kind of poise to it, I think, which I quite like.
She doesn't hold anything back, you feel. Because when she when she does gossip, it's sort of like, it's not like in a, it's in a way where it's like I think of the moment where Angie's fighting with Brittany, and Brittany is like, Angie said something about Brittany fucking 10 guys, like like why are you acting like you're this pious Mormon when you're seeing 10 guys at once? And then they're having a fight about that, and then Bronwyn comes over to Angie and says, like, Brittany said earlier she thinks she thinks you're a slut, and that's why you're coming at her.
Yeah, she was having fun with it. Yeah,
Yeah, she's not like holding on to anything. You feel she's kind of very upfront, and she is very level-headed as far as they go. Like I think she's very similar to Carol Radziwill on Real Housewives of New York, where you kind of need someone to like be a level playing field from which, you know, the extremes can make themselves known.
Speaking of, we got to talk about the friend Brittany in the last season. She's so funny to me because she's like this. She is still a Mormon, I think, and
she's supposedly like the most Mormon, of all of them.
But then, and so this comment that Angie made, where she's like, you know, you're fucking 10 guys, like, you don't feel like the most Mormon to me. And this is a problem I have with like, people like this. Whenever you say a comment like that, to me, that comment is like pointing out her hypocrisy, essentially. But they ran with it and took it like she was slut shaming her. She wasn't slut shaming her. It wasn't the 10 guys. It was the 10 guys while apparently being a pious Mormon. Like that's like, and I just gets my goat when people just don't get what people are saying. And like so much of the drama is misinterpretations of what people are saying, which is great. But
it avoids on the other franchises, it's very frustrating drama where it's a misinterpretation of what someone said, but the person is like clarifying it, but then the person arguing with them is ignoring their clarification. This one avoids it because I feel like it's not, that isn't like the crux of it. Like Meredith runs with Angie slut shaming Brittany, and she's saying like she kicks her out of a bar mitzvah party.
Oh, we got to talk about that too, by the way. Yeah.
She kicks her out of the bar mitzvah party because she's slut shaming Brittany. And then Angie's going, I wasn't slut shaming her, I was hair shaming her because she says she has high body count hair. And she's
The
like, I'm
amount
a
of
hair.
times the amount of times high body count hair was like said in that episode was ridiculous.
And she's essentially saying, like, I'm a hairdresser. Your hair's dry. I can see your split ends from here. You look like a slut. But it's not about being a slut. It's just that you look like a slut. But that is like based on something else. So you kind of get like, it's not like that's what they're arguing about. It's something deeper. So you kind of don't mind that Meredith is like misinterpreting what Angie says because it's like part of a broader dislike they have for each other. Um, and but Brittany's fantastic on the show because she's so desperate. She's like she's she needs. From what I understand, the rumors I've heard for the next season, she's back, but she's still a friend of, which is I think perfect because she'll keep this
Trying
level
to be
of
thirsty,
trying to
desperate.
get the snowflake, trying to be a part of the main cast, and that's kind of where she needs to be because it's absolutely hilarious. And I love Mary as blunt as she always is. Every time they're in a scene together and Brittany says something, Mary's always like, "Who are you? Why are you here? Why are you piping up?"
Yeah, and then Brittany has that like ill-fated on again, off again romance with an Osmond. And not even a brother, like just like a second cousin of the Osmonds, which is really funny because it's like clearly in Salt Lake City the Osmonds are the royal family. But yeah, that was so funny, that story. And you can tell that he is thirsty as well. I forget his name, Jerry or something like that.
Jared or
Jared,
something.
yeah. And he is thirsty to get on the show too. Like, so I think that's part of the on again, off again situation there. And they even get their own scene where like they have a date night or something where he explains what's going on. I always love when Friends of get scenes, like, 'cause it's always just, so out of left field, something you don't expect. It's like, oh, okay, we're with them now.
And he's just like a on his face slime bag. Like
Yeah.
he's like, I think in their scene there's like they like cheers to being like best friends. But she's like
And then she's like, we're back together.
desperate to be with him. And he's just like clearly like playing the field. He doesn't have any attachment to her whatsoever. But she'll keep crawling back.
Yeah.
And I love the drama she has with Lisa that's based on like the classic thing where like they've broken up and like Lisa's like confiding in her, being like, well, apparently Lisa takes a phone at one point and is texting him and like calling him a dirtbag or whatever. And then like they get back together. So now Brittany has a problem with Lisa for like attacking him while they were broken up. But yeah, she's sort of just perfect because she tries so hard and she doesn't get there, and that makes her like a brilliant foil to everyone else.
And that's generally what I think makes the show so great. Like we were saying, that striver element of like trying so hard. It's like usually, I don't know, there's something about it that when you put it in a show that makes it so much more palatable. Like when someone's a try hard in real life, you kind of like roll your eyes, unless it's sort of like there's something about this though that them trying hard is kind of admirable. Even the ones that I like less, like I just find it's just so appealing to me. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I think it's just because it's edited in such a way that makes them hilarious, but at the same time makes them kind of like relatable as well. It's that small town element, I think.
Yeah. And I think these are the most relatable housewives because I think even like a lot of the dramas they get into, it's like based on something that I think everyone has experienced. Like I feel like one of the dramas Lisa gets involved with is she's constantly at odds with Whitney, but then they sort of become friends. But then Whitney has a problem with her because Whitney's friend died. and she feels like Lisa wasn't sort of consoling her enough when they met up
Oh yeah.
in like for some party. But it's like that's very relatable to be like not know what to say when
Yeah.
someone's friend dies, and it becomes this big drama that it probably wouldn't become in real life. But it's like everything is kind of grounded in dynamics that aren't so absurd
Mm,
or like beyond the realm of imagining because they're involved with such high wealth and
mm,
high
mm,
wealth dynamics that normal people can't
mm.
relate to.
Yeah, and it's like, and but the thing at the same time is those people are aiming to get to that high wealth like
Hmm.
strata as well. Like that's what makes it so kind of delicious. Yeah, that fight especially with Lisa and Whitney. I mean, I'm always on Lisa's side, but like I get where she was coming from because it's like, is that really the venue to be like? It wasn't her event, was it? It was someone else's. I think Meredith's or someone like
It
that.
was, I think it was like Heather's daughter's birthday party
Yeah,
or
that.
something.
And so
So
like
it was
what's
like,
the social obligation there? Like it's kind of like not really the right venue to be doing that. And even
yeah.
so, she did give her a hug, but she had crap to give to people before she and
Hmm.
that was like beyond the pale for Whitney.
Yeah.
Like
And it's weird with Heather as well because I feel like Heather is a genuine empath in that like she is full of feeling for
Mm.
everyone else. And when she becomes briefly friends with Monica, um, and then oh Monica's mother.
Oh
Okay,
yeah.
so they go to
Great
Bermuda.
side character. Yeah, yeah.
They go to Bermuda and Monica wants to meet with her family. And then she gets a text that says like, well, you don't know what it says, but apparently her entire family are refusing to meet up with her because Monica's mother has like said, "Don't meet up with my bitch daughter," or
Mm,
whatever.
mm,
And then Monica runs out the Spooner van crying, and Lisa runs up after her and is like, "What's wrong?" And then like they're both like crying together in the toilet
mm,
stall over this. So Lisa's a very caring, loving person.
mm.
Um, but Monica's. Do you want to talk about Monica's mother because she's like she needs to be a full-time cast member.
She was like a star of that season. And also you could tell that she was trying to get on the show as well,
Yeah.
like as much as possible, perhaps as a main cast member. Maybe one day Monica's mother you will be. But she obviously is crazy.
Yeah.
And that's why Monica is the way she is.
Yeah. She's like essential to Monica's storyline because
Mm,
she's like a classic sort of narcissistic mother.
mm,
She she like she had so Monica's dad was gay and
mm,
like left her mum and ran off with his boyfriend. And then the mum like dumped her with some neighbors in Pennsylvania and then went off to pursue a career in New York. Uh, so like, and now she's like back in her life, but they have like this intense hatred for each other. But it's clear like you get the sense that Monica does want to like, break the cycle, but she can't. And
yeah.
she's
She's
and
also a narcissist.
she's
Yeah.
also a narcissist, and she's doing the same thing to her daughter because, as it comes out with like the reality Von T's account, she was spying on Jen and like doing drive-bys of her house and like
Mm,
recording her, um, and so clearly just leaving like
mm,
her daughters at home
yeah.
alone or whatever. Um, so like, yeah, she's like irrevocably fucked up,
Yeah.
and
And even like it's interesting because you kind of see the most at the beginning of the season of her mother when you kind of are introduced to her. She's actually being quite reasonable. Like I was on her side when like Monica's causing all this drama at like Angie's Greek Easter kind of event at her
Mhm.
house. Like she's in someone else's house and is like, who was she yelling at? Lisa or someone? Like or
I think she
Meredith?
was, yeah, maybe getting into it with Meredith because it's all
Yeah.
about the gay husband
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Because, yeah, Meredith left it to Monica to actually say
Yeah,
what
yeah.
the rumor was, and then they were arguing about that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So like that was a whole, like her mother was in the right to be like, can you calm down? Like we're guests in these people's home, and you're like basically saying that the husband's gay and has been cheating on the wife.
Yeah.
So like, but then you see that, well, clearly that's just her, being savvy enough to understand, that that's not the socially acceptable thing to do, which, a lot of narcissists are quite good at that, like identifying that and flying under the radar in that way.
Yeah.
So yeah, but after that, you just see how unhinged her mother is, and then she admits. I think I can't remember if it's in the reunion or not, but Monica admits that like her mother was actually pitching to get on the show because she was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, if they don't take you, I'll go on." Like that was a possibility. Yeah.
Because she says that like Monica went to her mum after the interview and was like, "Mum, I think I like flunked that. I don't think I'm getting on." And then her mum was like, "You know what? We'll pray." And she says, like, "Dear God, if Monica doesn't get on the show, let it be me." It's like absolutely crazy. But I feel like Monica perhaps had the intention of like, you know, using the show to kind of like expose her mother or like get her to confront the way
Which
she's
is a
actually
very female
acting.
narcissist thing to do as well. So it's like the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, clearly.
No, they're very much playing into each other's neuroses. And I don't think either can escape the other without serious introspection.
Yeah. But I really love this show. I'll continue watching it. Season 5, I'd say it again, is like I think they've perfected the cast. Like, so if they keep this cast for the next season, that'd be great. I think they are doing that, aren't they?
I think so.
Yeah. And I'm just interested to see the storylines and the dynamics. A little rumor I saw online yesterday was that apparently Bronwyn is pulling out of a lot of commitments, like charity wise, like not paying up for the money she's pledged and stuff. And there's rumors going around. There's trouble with her husband, who is the source of the money, really. And that's probably why they're probably separating or something. So that's really juicy.
Yeah. Well, Bronwyn's like she gets the in the reunion, she gets the secretly poor treatment because Lisa brings up, because they talk about early in the season, like Bronwyn finds this necklace that she loves.
That's right. Yeah.
Extremely expensive. Her husband buys it for her, and they talk about it in the reunion, and they're like, "There's some, rumors that you didn't buy it," and then Bronwyn's like, "No, of course I'm gonna like." I was thinking of wearing it today just to disprove all the rumors, and then Lisa's like, "Well, I heard from the seller, from the jeweler, that you didn't buy it," and it becomes this argument over like, why are you reaching out to the jeweler about whether or not I bought it, and then it's like revealed that the jeweler reached out to her just to like talk behind Bronwyn's back. But yeah, Bronwyn's very showy, so it's like she gets the perfect secretly poor treatment.
Yeah.
Which may be true.
I love this as well because one of the great things about this show in general, I would just say, is how it actually reveals something, not in an ironic way, but like it reveals things that it doesn't intend to reveal about like female intrapersonal dynamics, even the political stuff. Like everyone on this show who has tried to go in the Black Lives Matter direction just comes off looking like really bad and opportunistic. Like, even the few times Mary's done it has just been a little bit tacked on. You don't kind of buy it. And the slut shaming stuff, all of this stuff around the political and the ideological gets brought up in a way that is supposed to be, I guess, didactic, but like it ends up just showing the ridiculousness of these positions. And also, it's about women, and like you could argue that it's trying to like depict women accurately, like high-powered girl boss women, but it's also kind of like weirdly anti-feminist. as well. like the most successful woman, Lisa Barlow, is like happily married with her children and is like, you know, very religious reportedly, and but still does what the fuck she wants, you know. So there's like all of these elements of it that just make it so weirdly, and this is an overused term, but like weirdly subversive, like to like all orthodoxies, which I really love.
Well, I think when I started watching Housewives, it was I'm coming into it like I didn't know what to expect in terms of like how the show actually played out, but I feel like it does really. It's an extremely honest show because there is a sense that you can't hide, especially like the way women interact with other women and sort of these female friendships that are it's kind of like what Mike White did in the latest season of White Lotus with that group of three women, where it's like
That was like my favorite storyline in that season.
yeah,
So good.
where it's like they're all gonna bitch behind each other's back, but that doesn't kind of like actually undermine the friendship that they have between each other. It's kind of like mutually assured that like that like that there's that this that the it will be like a constant back and forth, and it's not going to be like perfect and nice all the time, but that doesn't kind of like it's kind of like it is kind of I don't know, it's kind of beautiful that to be like so honest and upfront about the way that they interact with each other, and it doesn't certain sniping doesn't like ultimately affect the love that they have for each other. It's very interesting because it is it's not like it's definitely not like women supporting women, but but then it is still they do still love each other regardless. It's much more honest and upfront about the way they interact. Every season I've seen has been like very upfront and honest about the way women interact with each other. And
Yeah, like honesty is a big thing, I think, and that goes for those other shows you mentioned too. Like that, it's an important part, especially now, of like making like long-lasting art. I think, especially in this time that we're in, like it is. I really treasure it when like creators, whatever you want to call them, are just honest about things, and I think people can sense it, and that's probably why, like you said, White Lotus is a great example of that. Like, obviously that appeals on a level to a lot of people for the, the juicy sex and the murder mystery element of it. But I think also people respond so strongly to it because it is so honest, about human nature without being, I guess, polemical or anything like that. So yeah, that really appeals to me about this show in particular. It's a really good way to sum it up. Like, it is the most honest of these shows as far as I can tell.
It's the least. Every Beverly Hills in New York, as they go along, they get more and more performative. But I think those early seasons of both those shows are similar to Salt Lake, and it's just very honest. It's they don't hold anything back. They don't meter the way they interact with each other based on how it might be perceived. I think, and especially like as the seasons go along, how it would be perceived like politically. Both those shows have they reach a point where it starts to become very concerned with how they would be perceived politically. Like both of them, like brush past. It's something that it was the 2020 turning point. Both of those shows like brush past like the first Trump election without much of a fuss, but then like the COVID comes about. Black Lives Matter comes about and becomes very concerned with how they come across.
Mm.
And I think this Salt Lake City has managed to avoid that, probably because of its setting, probably because none of them are that, none of them are genuinely concerned about it themselves.
Mm.
So it doesn't become like a point of conflict within the group. And it only really comes out when people are defending themselves, like, because Meredith started the Angie's husband is gay rumors. She comes under fire for that, but she immediately brings up like
Her gay side.
her gay side.
Yeah.
My gay side. I work for Glad. I would never spread these rumors. So it becomes
I have a gay friend.
It's presented as a very like facile defense. Like you can't take it seriously as like every time it's brought up, you can't take it seriously as something they, actually believe. And it manages to avoid. I think it's quite incredible that they've really managed to avoid becoming so self-aware of how they're perceived, like online or in the real world. Only insofar as the ones they target as a group are the ones that are the most popular, who they're clearly. But then that's based in like jealousy that would exist regardless.
Yeah.
So it's like
it's kind of showgirls logic of pushing the other bitch down the stairs to like, and which dovetails into what we were saying at the start, which is the striver element of this. And I really want to take back that word striver as like this negative thing. I actually like when people strive towards something and aspire towards something. And I think it shouldn't be like poo-pooed.
I think Brittany becomes like the striver scapegoat, I suppose, where you don't want to. Well, Brittany's problem is she has nothing to like back it up.
Yeah.
She's striving, but she's not striving. Like she could strive to be entertaining. She's sort of just striving in order to like be on the show without anything there to support it.
It's kind of like social media clout chasers, like people who like want to get as many followers as possible for like posts, which is nothing. Like, whereas like the difference between that and like, using that as a vehicle to have an audience for something you make or whatever, like that makes sense. Like, but Britney's in that kind of former mode where it's just like, I just want to get as much eyeballs on me as possible. To what end? To get as much eyeballs on me as possible.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, it also it reveals itself for Britney in the season 5 finale where they do their round table of nasty text messages. And that's, perfect opportunity for Britney to pull something out and like show, I don't know. But she's too concerned with how she comes across in the group. So like her nasty text messages like, I'm going to invite Bronwyn for lunch instead of Mary. and Mary's like, good. I didn't want to come.
Yeah, that's funny. Oh yeah, that finale was so funny, like where they had to reveal the like nastiest text message that they'd sent about the person and got the person to read it at the table. Like that at first feels, I mean, if it was confected,
and probably production were behind it. But then when it does work, you kind of see like there is something behind it because it does. It could have just been like drama, argument. But then sometimes it does work, and sometimes it like clears the air and like puts everything out on the table. But then Whitney has to ruin it.
Like she always does. But I can't wait to watch the next season, and I can't wait to see what they do with Jen's return, because she's going to return in some way, and it'll be very dramatic. But we've done almost 2 hours on this show. Do you have any final thoughts?
No, it's the greatest season of Housewives currently airing. I'm eager to see how this influences Housewives ongoing. Um, and I feel like this should change the show for the better because the big seasons need to pick me up, and Salt Lake City might be the model.
Yeah, and I would just add to that as well. One thing I didn't mention is how much of an advertisement for Salt Lake City it is. I really want to go to Salt Lake City now. It looks so
nice.
pretty. Yeah. Even though I'm not a very I don't like snow and cold, but even I'm convinced. Like,
yeah, it does make it look appealing because you used to on Housewives. It's typically very like warm and tropical. If they go on holiday, they go. Well, they do on Salt Lake City. Well, but even when they do on Salt Lake City, it seems cold. But it's nice to see them like have their dinners and like wearing blankets under heaters.
And there's little things I love with they're like little UFOs, like they're outdoor like areas in the restaurants that so many restaurants have there. These little like domes, geodesic domes that they kind of sit in to view the surroundings, and they're still cold inside those. But I'd love to go and like see all the Mormon sites. That'd be fun. Yeah. Well, thanks once again for joining me to talk about Housewives.
Thank you for having me.
We'll have to talk about something else next time. Maybe a I don't know. Maybe we should just continue talking about Housewives.
Sure.
It's just been fun. I've been having a great time. So yeah,
there's a lot of good stuff on Beverly Hills, especially in the early seasons.
Okay, all right.
A lot of good. The dynamics between Kim and Kyle Richards. It's very it's a very rich melodrama. Whatever happened to Baby Jane?
I love rich melodrama.
That's all good stuff. It's a lot of good stuff there.
Amazing. All right. Thanks again, Alex.
Thank you.
I'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.